Chair of Chairs, let me now talk about the elements of the 2025-2026 adjustment budget that we are tabling in this House today, and which formalizes the rolling over of funds from 2024 to 2025 financial year. The recommendations and priorities reflected in these adjustment budgets are the culmination of an extensive consultation process beginning from the Medium-Term Expenditure Committee, hearings, bilateral engagement between members of the Executive Council and myself and the Premier's Budget Committee, and engagement with other political parties. This collaborative approach ensures that our budget is not only technically sound, but also responsive to the needs of Gauteng's people. This budget adjustment also addresses pressures in frontline services as a means to equipping Gauteng provincial government to continue responding to the provincial imperatives underpinning the 2024 to 2029 MTDP and the G13 priorities. The total under expenditure for the 2024-2025 financial year was 1.922 billion, or 99% of the allocated budget of 168.7 billion, of which conditional grants amounted to 381.5 million, and the equitable share was 1.3 billion. So of significance is that 295.7 million of the unspent conditional grants have been approved for rollover, and only 85.8 million will be surrendered to the National Revenue Fund. Whole of the 1.3 billion underspending in equitable share, 211.6 million will be rolled over, the balance not being lost to the province but retained in the Provincial Revenue Fund. As a matter of fact, 888 million was reappropriated to the provincial priorities in the budget that we tabled on the 3rd of June 2025. Provincial Treasury runs a rollover process with well-defined criteria such as unpaid invoices or tangible proof of commitments of funds at year end. The difference between the underspending and the amount of equitable share funds approved for rollover is because some departmental requests are unsuccessful due to legislative limit, such as not more than 5% of goods and services allocations being eligible for rollover, or insufficient documentary evidence as per the established criteria. The total adjustment is 3.3 billion, which includes the rollovers, national and provincial funding. In terms of injections to the fiscal envelope, a total of 2.2 billion is being added to the 2025 main budget, and this is as follows. Chairs. The Office of the Premier will receive an additional amount of 43.9 million, of which 40.8 million goes towards honoring outstanding claims from Life Acid Dimeni Mental Health Users Project, and 2.8 million for the filling of critical posts. The Department of Health is allocated 1.1 billion towards offsetting the pressures in the goods and services baseline, and a further 90 million rands towards its infrastructure projects, especially the pathology, especially that pathology. The Department of Education will receive 507.8 million, of which 200 million is to alleviate pressures in the compensation of employees line item, and the balance to scholar transport, school nutrition, school safety, which are key goods and services cost drivers. The Department of Social Development is allocated 103.9 million, of which 35.5 million is for augmenting the infrastructure program, Honorable Mazibugo. Allocation and the balance towards goods and services items exhibiting pressures. The Department of Community Safety is allocated 92.6 million to alleviate pressures facing various items under goods and services. The Department of Sports, Arts, Culture and Recreation will receive 10 million, of which about 6 million is towards the summer games that will be taking place in December. And they will also be looking at helping Bafana Bafana for their final preparation game that will take place in our province. This initiative keeps communities constructively engaged and active in various ways during the festive season. A total of 3 million will be allocated towards goods and services and 1 million for compensation of employees. A total of 400 million was Honorable Waters. He was saying we will be switched off at eGov. So a total of 400 million is allocated to e-government, of which 200 million is to address the looming obsolescence of equipment for the Gauteng provincial network, and the balance 200 million towards offsetting pressing commitments under goods and services. So we will not be switched off as Gauteng government. The Department of Infrastructure Development is allocated 20 million to alleviate pressures in goods and services and 13 million for the compensation of employees. The adjustments budget process remains the primary mechanism for addressing unforeseen and unavoidable expenditure. Expenditure that could not be anticipated at the time of the main budget. Chair of Chairs, infrastructure investment continues to play a pivotal role in economic development, job creation, and contributes directly to the quality of life of our citizens. This is why we strongly believe that we must increase our investment in infrastructure and improve on robust infrastructure systems that support all our provincial services, including transport, health, education, and social development. The Provincial Treasury has already introduced various measures to improve on the efficient and effective use of financial resources allocated for infrastructure projects. Instruction notes have been issued as promised in the last budget with the aim of responding to the needs of the intended beneficiaries and to prevent wasteful expenditure. When we fail to deliver projects on time, within budget and to specifications, inclusive of legislative compliance, we compromise on value for money. Due to funding constraints, we must also intensify our efforts to secure alternative resource financing models. The high level of dependence on the provincial fiscus to fund infrastructure projects must also be addressed through the strengthening of cost recovery and exploring alternative funding sources. We are also placing more focus on consequence management of poorly performing service providers. All provincial departments and entities are encouraged to work with the Provincial Treasury and other relevant stakeholders to prepare bankable applications for infrastructure projects that qualify for budget infrastructure fund funding. As the Provincial Treasury, we are also focusing on public-private partnerships as a vehicle to attract additional resources for infrastructure projects.